Hello and welcome. Good morning. Welcome to Making the Law Work for the People on WIDU 1600, sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. My name is Diana Devine, and I'm one of the litigation attorneys here at Brent Adams and Associates. Mr. Adams has practiced law for over 50 years, and as a law firm together, we have over 150 years experience between all of us. We have attorney Chris Wanker, who's also in the personal injury department, and such as myself here in the Raleigh office. We have Emily Hickman, who's also in the personal injury department as an attorney in the Fayetteville office. We have a new addition, Amy, how do I pronounce her name? Well, BK, that's it, here in the Raleigh office as well, who just joined our personal injury litigation team. And then we have Sheila Chavis, who is a partner and also runs the workers' compensation department. Vance Jennings, who is the Social Security disability specialist and another partner at the firm. We at the firm here are to help you in various legal issues that you may encounter, from workers' compensation injuries to disability claims and various other situations. We hope you will give us a call if you need any assistance or you've been injured. We really encourage you to just give us a call, and you can speak to our wonderful intake team, who is very knowledgeable. And if you need to speak directly with an attorney, they can get one of us on the line, and we can talk to you directly about your case. Make sure that if you are able to be compensated, if there is a way that we can do an investigation and we can help you. We can be reached at 910-888-8888. We handle cases all over the state of North Carolina, and we have our main offices are in Dunn, Fayetteville, and Raleigh, but we also have offices in Southern Pines and Clinton, North Carolina. Please give us a call at 910-888-8888. We say don't hesitate, call the 8 and let us know if you have a situation that you need to be represented for. Today we're going to talk about a few topics. I want to introduce Emily Hickman. Attorney Emily Hickman is on the line with me. Emily, will you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been at the firm.
Hello, good morning. I'm Emily Hickman. I have been with the law firm about 8 months now, so I'm fairly green. I'm in the personal injury department. I work with new clients doing intakes. I do referrals also. And I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you for being with us. We're happy to have you. Very happy to have another attorney in the Fayetteville office. Like I told Emily a long time ago, that used to be our largest office, and we're building it back up. Raleigh is currently our largest office, I don't know. I think Dunn and Raleigh are neck and neck with staff.
Yeah, I would say they're about the same.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about personal injury today, and I am going to mention, by the way, Making the Law Work for the People, WIDU, is sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. You know, we say don't wait, call the 910-888-8888. Mr. Adams has practiced for over 50 years, and we take cases from all over the country. So I want to talk to you about Mr. Adams' books, right? So we're going to be reading from 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case. This is a book that Mr. Adams wrote. They are available on Amazon. He also wrote How to Get Top Dollar for Your Workers' Compensation Claim. And his newest book was The Truth About Medical Malpractice Claims. You can purchase them on Amazon, but as a loyal listener to WIDU, you can call our office today and get a free copy sent in the mail to you. So reach out to us, 910-888-8888, and we will follow up with a free copy of any of Mr. Adams' books or all 3 of Mr. Adams' books. Also, feel free to visit our website, www.brentadams.com, or on Facebook as well. You know, our expert team of intake specialists are happy to hear from you. And again, you can usually get an attorney on the line to discuss your claim with you right then. And today, the first topic that we were going to talk about, so Emily's been working with a lot of our new intakes when they come in, doing initial investigations and discussing those things with them. And she mentioned to make sure you collect your MedPay coverage. That is one of the chapters in Mr. Adams' books on page 19, out of the 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case. Tell me, Emily, are you informing people when they first sign up, what MedPay is, and what are you finding out about that? Do they know what it is? Do you have to check with them? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I asked them if they have it or if they're aware of it, and it's surprising how many people aren't aware of the benefits of MedPay or what it is exactly. So MedPay is short for medical pay, and the insurance covering the vehicle that you may not even be driving, you might be a passenger, will cover typically medical expenses, often up to $2,000, sometimes higher, sometimes $1,000. And it's a really great benefit, especially because it's not considered in subrogation, which means that it's not held against you in any recovery against the other person's insurance company. They don't take that money back just because your medical bills were covered through MedPay. So it's a really great benefit. Also, if the car that you were riding in as a passenger doesn't have it, your personal car insurance for another vehicle may also have it. So it's worth looking into and being familiar with.
Yeah. So that is a good point, that even if it's not your car. So medical payments coverage is a provision within your liability insurance policies. So it's automatic in North Carolina. You'd have to actually tell your agent or whoever you talk to that you don't want it, right? There are $1,000 policies. I think the lowest I've ever seen is $500. $1,000, $2,000 is normal, but it can go up to $10,000 or more, I believe. It is extremely cheap. It is literally $1 per $1,000 from what I understand. I think I only pay $2 a month for my $2,000 in coverage if I were to be injured, because I only have $2,000 in MedPay. It is money that goes to you unless you have some type of, depending on your insurance, the money would go directly to you. So if you're taken by ambulance to the hospital and you have $2,000 in MedPay, likely those bills are going to be over $2,000, and we can submit that for you, or you can submit it yourself to your insurance company, and they will write you a check directly in your name for that money. So this helps when you have balances owed, so on your medical bills, because personal injury claims only get paid out when the case is settled and resolved, and that can take years sometimes. So this, in North Carolina, if you just pay $5 a month on a medical bill, they can't report it to, can't put it in delinquency, they can't write it off as bad debt, they can't put it into collections. So it's really, that's the best way to use it if you can't pay your co-pays or balances that's owed and they don't put a lien on your case. MedPay is really the best way to use that. Or if you have a large amount and you're very injured, you could be using this to help pay your bills until you're able to get better. It's very wonderful to have, and it's very inexpensive. I highly recommend that people have it. I tell clients all the time, I forget that some people have never been in a crash, never used their insurance, even though we do this all day, every day, because that is all Emily and I do is personal injury cases. We don't do workers' comp or Social Security or anything else. This is all we do. And so that's one of the most important things, is to have good coverage for yourself. And she's correct. So the medical payments coverage they will pay for the medical expenses incurred as a result of the injury sustained by any person riding in that car if it's covered with MedPay. Doesn't matter if you're not on policy, doesn't matter if you're not named in the insurance. And now if there is no MedPay, you can also then go to your MedPay and see if you have some on your policy. So there's lots of different ways for us to do this. The biggest thing that everybody always says is, right, Emily, they say, well, is it going to affect my insurance? Is my insurance going to go up, right?
Right, exactly. And MedPay insurance is payable regardless of, not only regardless of who was at fault, but regardless of whether or not you have health insurance and your insurance covers your bills. You get that money regardless, which is fantastic.
Yep, it is something that you pay for like you pay for health insurance coverage. So you use your health insurance, it doesn't go up. This is something that you pay for separate. Your liability insurance is what would go up if you were at fault. But medical payments coverage is, how she just said it, it's regardless of fault, so it's a no-fault payout. Even if you were in a crash and we couldn't help you because it was your fault, so there's not liability coverage, if you have med pay, you can still get your medical payments coverage to help pay your bills. It's really a win-win for everybody. What else would we like to talk about med pay? What's important?
Can you just elaborate on the subrogation aspects of it? I think that, well, I've noticed it's a question that comes up quite a bit and people aren't really familiar with it. And so would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
So with subrogation, when it comes to med pay, in North Carolina, we have a no subrogation statute. So some states, they can try to, and I've gotten letters from companies trying to get the med pay out of the claim. So let's say that we had you're in a crash and it's not your fault, it's their fault, and you get your med pay, which is normal, and we help you get that. They can try to put a lien on the settlement to get the med pay coverage back to them, but not in North Carolina. So that's a win for us. In many states, your insurance can actually try to get a lien off of whatever settlement you get and get their money back, but not in North Carolina. So there's no subrogation in North Carolina for med pay. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, that's exactly right. I think that's important to note.
Yeah, but that's North Carolina law. There's no way for them to come after you. I've gotten letters before, but they obviously didn't know that this is North Carolina, you can't do that.
Right. That's one of the laws in North Carolina that definitely work for the people. Yeah. Diana, if you had to say there was a law that you encounter or a legal policy that you encounter a lot that does not work for plaintiffs, what would you say that was?
Well, honestly, I'll just bring up one that's been bothering me recently with our premise liability cases, and it's not a statute. It is a
doctrine.
A case law doctrine is about like premise liability, the open and obvious when it comes to sidewalks and curbs. I mean, the case law is just very against the plaintiff. But in North Carolina, the worst thing that we have of a statute is we have what's called contributory negligence, where there are only 4 states in the country that have clear, pure contributory negligence, and that is us, Virginia, and I really need to look up the other 2, but they're not anywhere near us, but Virginia is. So that means contributory negligence means if you are at all in any way 0.0001% at fault, it's a complete bar to any recovery, right? Every other state has some type of comparative negligence. There's pure comparative, there's partial comparative, it's all different types of comparative negligence. So in any other state, everybody can sue and get some type of money out of the situation, but not in North Carolina. If you're at fault, you get nothing, right? So that's the first thing that Emily does when she does her initial investigation and call with the client is discuss the incident, whether it's a dog bite, slip and fall, wrongful death, whatever the situation is. Car crash, of course, is the vast majority of personal injury cases just because there's so many cars on the road. And to get you to describe the crash, how did it happen? Did anybody get a ticket? You know, if you're very seriously hurt and you're knocked unconscious, you wake up in the hospital, you obviously can't answer any of those questions. Then we're looking for the crash report. You know, what did the investigating officer say? What did he deem was contributory negligent and not? And all of that can be found on your crash report. You know, I go over the crash report in detail with my clients when they first sign up and come to me. It's one of the things I do in the initial attorney case review. And I go over that in detail to explain everything to them so that they learn how to do that. And Emily tries to get the crash report right away because that really tells us a lot. Especially, you know, clients don't necessarily know exactly what happened sometimes, especially if it's a crash.
And the crash report can be a little bit tricky to understand. It's all in numbers and codes. Is there a place that the listeners could go to translate their crash report?
Yeah, so I usually just Google North Carolina crash report, like how to read your North Carolina crash report. But we have, I believe we have one on our website at BrentAdams.com. if you go to our website, there should be a code reader in there for you to review your crash report. And again, you can call 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call the 8 and speak to one of our wonderful intake staff, or speak directly with an attorney here to discuss your personal injury case, workers' compensation case, social security, disability, wrongful death, dog bite, premise liability. Really, if you've been injured at all, please always give us a call. That's really the way that I would explain it. Even if you think it might be not something you can get compensation for, even if you think that maybe it was your fault and not negligent, I still want you to call and just let us ask you the questions, right? Because you've never dealt with this before, and we deal with it every day. So please don't hesitate and call the 8s, 910-888-8888. All right. Anything else about MedPay that's come up in the intakes?
Not necessarily with MedPay. No, MedPay is great because it's so straightforward.
Yeah. We don't charge. Oh, and by the way, we do not charge a fee to collect your MedPay for you. That is a service that we do for free for all of our motor vehicle personal injury clients.
Right, absolutely. And speaking of no fee, every legal consultation that we provide is also free of charge. So.
Yeah. No, that's a great thing to bring up. We don't charge for your consultation. We don't charge to review your case. We don't charge to, even when you speak directly with an attorney that goes over the case, we do not charge anything. The only time you pay is when we win. That's it. When the case is resolved, you don't pay for anything unless you win, and unless we win, and it's in the contract that way. A lot of places will. Years ago, I was a paralegal before I went to law school, and I've worked at quite a few different personal injury law firms, and we call it nickel and diming a client to death. There'll be all these weird fees on there that, like, what is it that they usually say, like an administrative fee, and they justify it by saying it's for paper and ink and things like that. We don't do that, right? There's everything that is spelled out perfectly. The only things that we get are out of the settlement is the contingency fee, right? So the more that I make for you, the more I make for the firm. It's a win-win for everybody. And then whatever money we've spent on your behalf to get your case ready. So normally in a pre-lit situation, if we were to resolve it and get it settled with negotiations and pre-litigation, that really would only be considered like paying for your medical records and bills, maybe. And that's really, I don't know, I'm trying to think what else there could be a cost there. Once you get into litigation, that's where you get costs, right? So before I put a case into litigation, I always call the client and I go over that. Like, so this is your offer right now, but we're probably going to spend X amount of dollars for litigation. I don't know how much it's going to go up, to really weigh the time, the money, and the amount, whether it's in their benefit or not, what's in their best interest. And most likely than not, I always file suit, right? One of the things that is also in Mr. Adams' book, 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case, is one of my favorite chapters is how to pick an attorney. And I actually had a client call yesterday who was a paralegal down in Florida, and her brother got injured. And she said, no, it has to be a litigation attorney. It has to be a litigation attorney, which is very smart, right? You should ask your attorney, if you're injured currently and you have a personal injury attorney, I want you to call that attorney and ask them the last time they've been to trial. I want to know, because if they haven't been to trial in 25 years, or they've never been to trial, then you want to move up to a litigation attorney. And that's one of the things at our firm. Every one of our attorneys has the ability and takes cases to trial. Mr. Adams loves to go to trial. That's his favorite thing. He's probably one of the best trial attorneys in this region. And we go with him and have a wonderful time at trial. It's a very learning experience. I'm excited to get Emily, who's only been here for 8 months, to her first trial. It's coming.
I'm looking forward to it.
Trial is only fun for the attorneys, but you need an attorney who's not scared to take something to trial. So, don't hesitate. Call the 8-910-888-8888. And again, call us and we'll send you a free copy of the book we're reading from today, 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case. Emily, do you have the book with you? I'm turning to page 14, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at things you should do immediately after the wreck.
All right, in there.
Yep. So you want to go over the first one with us?
Yeah, so the first one is to make sure you call the police or other law enforcement officers as quickly as possible. And if you're not able to, due to your injuries, have someone else do it for you.
Yep.
Sometimes we are presented with clients who opted not to file a police report, which presents problems down the road when trying to make a claim against the insurance. You need proof of what happened. I've even seen a case where somebody was injured. Another driver ran into them and then decided to drive away, and the person in the other vehicle decided to chase them down, and then they called the police after they had moved their vehicle from the scene. And because they had moved their vehicle, the officer was unable to determine fault, facts surrounding the circumstances. And so it's incredibly important to stay put and call as soon as it happens.
Absolutely. I completely agree. There's nothing more frustrating to me as a litigation attorney than to get a case that there's no crash report. Now, every once in a while, I can still get them settled, right? So every single one of them I've gotten resolved pre-lit because there was no police officer, and all we're dealing with is now the defendant, who can change his story at any time, and there's no one else. It's just his word against yours. There's no investigating officer. And if we have to get to trial and a lot of money's on the line, then their story's going to change. So it's very important to call the police and get a police report. That was really good, Emily. So because she left the scene of the initial impact to chase the guy down, the officer refused to prepare a crash report.
Right. Well, I mean, he prepared it, but very skeletal. How can you possibly know what happened if you can't see it, where it was? And there aren't always cameras around. And so it's something to keep in mind.
And if there are cameras around, I had an 18-wheeler that did a hit and run in the middle of nowhere. I want to say it was like Sampson County somewhere, but there just happened to be a store that across the way, and my client went to the store and got videotape of the 18-wheeler fleeing the scene. I mean, so sometimes there's no crashes and sometimes there are. I have another 18-wheeler case on the highway on 40. He changed the lanes and hit my client, but luckily the man behind her, the truck that was driving behind her, had a dash cam and caught the entire thing on video. And then another Good Samaritan pulled over behind her and gave the state trooper the video. And another Good Samaritan actually chased the 18-wheeler down and got pictures of the license plate and the sides of the vehicle to get the company name, and came back and gave it to the state trooper. And that state trooper went above and beyond, because he didn't just write a crash report. He took his time. He went out to the company, found who the driver was, and ticketed him for fleeing the scene of a crash. And now we not only have the company, the legitimate company, we also have the driver of the car like you're supposed to, even though he fled the scene. So you think you can get away with stuff when you can't. There's cameras everywhere. They also have cameras on the highways now. You can see them everywhere. So very much, there's a video somewhere. So that's something I would ask, that if you are in a crash, or who's ever with you, if you're listening to this and one of your loved ones is in a crash, look around and see if you see a camera. Make note of it, and either you try to go get a copy of the camera, or you tell us right away about where you saw the camera so we can reach out to them. You tell the investigating officer where you see a camera. Bring it up to their attention. Maybe they don't notice, because that's wonderful information. I had a crash report from a client just recently where the officer put 33 in the boxes, which means unknown, doesn't know how the crash happened, because the defendant said that it was our client's fault, and she said no, it was their fault, and no one stayed that was around who saw the crash happen. She went to it was like an auto repair store that was on a catty corner to the incident, and sure enough, their camera got the entire incident on video. and it was very clearly the defendant's fault, and they amended the crash report. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. Now, hopefully you can call a loved one, or so you can hand your phone to somebody if you're badly injured, for them to call your spouse or loved one to come out to the scene and do these things for you. Take pictures at the scene. I really would prefer you as the victim to not get out of the car and to not, I have EMS reports where the EMS staff, I don't know why they do this, but they say things like the victim was walking around the scene and perfectly, like they're perfectly fine. They make it overly apparent like that the person wasn't injured, which is crazy to me. I have one right now that I'm fighting because she was very badly injured and crying hysterically. Apparently, like 3 ambulances showed up to the scene, and the third one is the one that took her away. And the second ambulance told her to call AAA because she didn't know what to do about her car. And the EMS report by this third ambulance that showed up was terrible. Didn't say that she was injured at all. Said that she wasn't in any apparent distress, that she was on the phone the whole time, which is absolutely not true. And we have affidavits from people that were at the crash scene talking about how hysterical she was and how she was limping and holding her back. But I would have never known that from her medical record. So it's very important to do everything you can right then, and if you can't, call a loved one. And I hope they're listening right now. So if you're a loved one that gets this call, that's what you need to do. All right. What's the next one?
Before we move on, there are a few issues that just came to mind while we were talking about the police report. The first is be careful with what you say when the accident happens, because you could be injured and not know it at that time. Sometimes it takes a few hours for the pain to kick in, and if you say, to the officer, I'm okay, or you say, I don't know what happened, I don't know if it was my fault. Just be very careful with what you say. While everything is developing, your adrenaline's high and you may be prone to talking or speaking with the other driver. Just be very mindful that what you say goes into evidence, right? And so you may be hurt and you say you're fine and then find out later that you're hurt. That's going to not be great for your case. It looks like we're going to take a break.
Let's do, don't hesitate, call the 910-8888. This is Brent Adams and Associates, making the law work for the people.
That last day, I'm gonna call that last day. Good God Almighty, let me say this. Let me say this.
Members of a House Oversight Committee are questioning a number of Charlotte leaders about crime and immigration enforcement in the Queen City. We are just over 3 weeks away from the March primaries, and the early voting period kicks off this Thursday. Former FBI investigator in Raleigh is weighing in on the investigation surrounding the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Buckingham Palace says that King Charles is ready to support a police investigation to his brother Andrew's links to the Epstein files. At the Winter Olympics in Italy, Lindsey Vonn is talking about Sunday's disastrous crash that ended her comeback. She posted on Instagram Monday she broke the same leg she injured 1 week earlier. The NCDMV is ending its extended morning hours at 90 offices. And new storms in the east and west are targeting millions of Americans this morning. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Yesterday, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office Special Investigations Unit executed a search warrant in the 300 block of Maloney Avenue in Fayetteville. As a result, 49-year-old Enrico McNeil of Fayetteville was arrested and charged with possession with intent to manufacture, sell, and deliver a Schedule II controlled substance and deliver a Schedule II controlled substance. Are you looking to gain hands-on experience in law enforcement and public safety? The Fayetteville Police Department is now accepting applications for the internship program. It is an unpaid internship that will allow students to work up to 40 hours a week from May 11th through August 7th of this year. To qualify, applicants must be current student at any college or university, must not have been convicted or pleaded guilty or no contest to a felony or any offense that would be considered a felony if committed in the state of North Carolina. They also must not have been convicted of a misdemeanor of a serious nature that reflects moral turpitude or indicates a tendency to disregard the law. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Mann.
It is a cold start out there to our Tuesday morning. However, heading into the afternoon, things are going to feel a lot different for us. High temperatures in the mid to upper 60s under a mainly sunny sky. Overnight, clouds increasing, temperatures drop into the upper 40s and lower 50s. And then after some morning clouds, we gradually break into some afternoon sunshine on Wednesday with highs about 60 to 65. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the Weather Center.
Wake up, catch the vision, join the team. This is Pastor Reginald Johnston of My Father's House Christian Church right here in Fayetteville. We want you to wake up and join the team. Behold, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It's good when we come together. We're one body, many parts. We desire that you wake up and join the team. It's good to be a part of Wake Up. Wake up, join the team. We will see you in Jesus' name. God bless you.
I am thrilled to share the honor of receiving an endorsement from the Union Food and Commercial Workers and the North Carolina State AFL-CIO. Let us reflect on the powerful words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. I am Charles Evans, your dedicated candidate for County Commissioner at Large. Together, we can carry this essential work forward on your behalf. For bold and intentional leadership, vote Charles Evans for County Commissioner at Large. Paid for by the committee to elect Charles Evans.
I'm Tony Stewart, and I don't just talk about service, I live it. I've served on the Board of Commissioners, and today I serve as Regional 6 Director of the Department of Social Services Institute, supporting families and strengthening our community. I was also appointed by former Governor Roy Cooper to the North Carolina Health Coordinating Committee, bringing our voices to the state level. I stand for smart growth, livable wages, strong schools, and safer neighborhoods. Vote for me, and you get proven leadership that works for people, not politics. Remember Tony Stewart. Together, let's move Cumberland County forward. Paid for by the committee to elect Tony Stewart for County Commissioner at Large.
Heavy load, I got rid of my heavy load. Say it again, heavy load, y'all.
Hello, thanks for coming and joining us on Making the Law Work for the People, WIDU 1600, sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. My name is Attorney Diana Devine, and I have with me Attorney Emily Hickman. We are two of the personal injury attorneys here at Brent Adams and Associates. We handle all types of injury cases, workers' compensation, and Social Security disability as well. And our motto is don't hesitate. Call the 8-910-888-8888. Check us out at brentadams.com or on Facebook. And you can read all of our wonderful 5-star reviews on Google as well. Emily and I were discussing what to do when you first get in a crash. And Emily, where'd you leave off?
Yes, we were on the topic of police reports and not only the importance of calling law enforcement after you're in a car accident, but also being mindful of what you say because it's being written down, it's going into evidence. Sometimes people are in shock, there's high adrenaline, they say, I'm okay, when in fact they very well could be injured and the adrenaline's so high, they're not feeling the pain yet. And often I see this happen where the client goes to the emergency room, they're sent home, and then the next day is when it hits and they realized how severely injured they really are. And so if you say, I'm okay, and it's written down, I'm okay, insurance companies, their job is oftentimes to pay as little as possible. And so they're looking for reasons that you're not really injured. Right. And so you saying that you're fine, you posting on Facebook, water skiing the next day, you have to be very careful. I mean, they're looking for this, not that you would be out there doing that. I'm just saying they're looking for evidence that there is no injury.
Yeah,
And
that's a great point. When it first happens, if it's not a super severe crash, or even if it is pretty bad, but you have a great car that's like, got all the airbags and everything, you feel like you're okay, right? And your adrenaline is super pumping, especially if your car is completely destroyed. And so you don't know if you're injured at that point, literally. And if there isn't a severe pain right away, then people are like, oh, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. So I actually got into a crash and I did everything wrong. And I have been doing this a very long time. I was very disappointed in myself. So I always tell my clients, if you're in a crash, don't talk to the defendant, don't get out of the car, call a loved one. I did do that. I called a loved one who came and took pictures, thank God. And go in the ambulance. The ambulance came. I was sitting completely stopped at a light, and I was pretty far back. This is in Raleigh, so there was probably 50 cars around me, and I was pretty far back from this light, and there was a slight curve. But I had been sitting there for a long time. So at this point, I had actually leaned up and broke the seal on the seatbelt, and this woman just came out of nowhere and wasn't paying attention and just slammed right in the back of me. And I had my foot on the brake, and I was so worried that I was going to hit the car in front of me that all I focused on was keeping my foot on that brake. And it was a split second when I saw her coming, so I had tensed up. But my whole body went forward on top of the steering wheel because she hit me so hard in the seatbelt I had already unlocked because I had been sitting there for a few minutes. And I didn't know what to do. But the cop comes over to me, and I'm still sitting in the car. She came to my window, and she was like, "Are you okay?" Or, "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And I just nodded and was like, yeah. And I wish I hadn't have said that, but it's automatic reaction at the time. You're very overwhelmed, and it's just a high tense situation. I did not get out of the car. A little cop comes over to me and through the window was like, "Were you stopped? Were you stopped? Were you stopped?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was stopped for a long time." An ambulance came, and my adrenaline was pumping, and I started crying, and they were pushing on me, and I didn't feel like I was hurt, but I was a little nauseous. And now I know it's because for all these years of doing this is that you get a mild TBI when it happens because your head flings forward and backwards, so your brain smushes against the front and the back of your head, and it makes you sick. But I went home because I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to lay down. And I did, heating pads and ice because I didn't really know what to do. And I waited. It was a Thursday, I think. And so I didn't go into work Friday. And then by Monday, I had to take the car to go get fixed because I was able to drive it away, but there was things hanging off of it. It was very dangerous. And so I went to go drive it to the repair place, and when I turned while I was driving, I couldn't turn my neck the whole way. And I didn't even realize this. It wasn't until I had to turn my neck so far to look over my shoulder while I was driving that I realized how bad I was injured. And I immediately went to urgent care and told the woman that I couldn't turn my head. I literally physically could not turn my head. And I had no idea until I tried before I knew how bad it was. So you really don't know. And this was 4 days after my crash that I couldn't physically move in certain directions, that the muscles were so badly tensed up. And all she did was give me medications and massages and things like that. It was shocking, though. I didn't think I was that badly injured until a few days later when I literally couldn't move. So the point is,
right.
You don't know how injured you are when it first happens.
Right. Adrenaline gives us a lot of strength, and once it wears off is when, time will tell. But,
yeah.
So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Also, getting evaluated when you feel fine is also very important for that reason. Sometimes people are afraid of medical bills, and so they avoid the doctor for that reason. But the longer you wait, particularly past 2 weeks, the more it hurts your case because, again, An insurance company will see that as, well, how hurt are you if you didn't even need to see the doctor? So
very important the first 2 weeks. Let's bring that up again. Very important the first 2 weeks. You need to see a medical provider within the first 2 weeks, right? I'm so glad you brought that up. And if you don't have health insurance, you should go to the emergency room and contact us right away, because we actually have, we know of people or companies and medical providers that will treat you on a lien basis, right? Which means that you don't have to pay out of pocket. We'll get the health care that you need now, and it will come out of whatever settlement ends up being resolved, right? So that's one way to get health care and the medical attention that you need right away. So I always say, don't hesitate. Call the 910-888-8888. So we're reading again out of 10 Costly Mistakes That Wreck Your North Carolina Case. Is one of the books that Mr. Adams has written. And if you call today, 910-888-888, and say that you're a loyal listener to WIDU, Making the Law Work for the People, we will send you his book for free.
Perfect. One thing before we move on to the next topic, what happens if the police report is wrong? If the police officer, in their narrative, their description of what happened is incorrect?
That happens. It happens more often than I like, but it's not often, but it does happen. And there are lots of things you could do. So you can go to the officer and see if he'll change it after the fact. Normally, if somebody's injured and taken away, or if it takes too long for the officer to get there, there's lots of different reasons this could happen. Did you ever even speak to the officer as the driver? Did they speak to any witnesses or victims of the crash, or the defendant? Who did he speak to get that statement? Sometimes the officers just talk to other officers. Sometimes the officers never even get to talk to you. They can just see you from the crash, from the type of incident, where it was located, where the damage is on the car. But if they didn't speak to you or get a witness statement or pictures, and the crash report is wrong, you can usually provide that information and they will amend the crash report. If they don't amend it and you're confident that this is what happened and you feel like you could prove it, you can go above that officer's head to their supervisor and give your grievances and see if they'll amend it. But at that point, that's as far as you can go. And that's a whole lot of work. State troopers are actually trained and very detailed trained. They take courses and have continuing education and actually go to school to do their crash investigations, right? Police officers do not. I don't believe they have any training at all. And then now they have these little, what are they called, Emily? Like little task force people that come out sometimes to hide crash scenes. They're not officers at all. And they'll do a crash report, which is not great, because if we need to, we'll bring an officer to court. But most of it would be hearsay unless the officer specifically spoke to you, right? So we need to talk to that officer and see why he put in his report what he did. Did he physically talk to everybody? Did he see the damages? Can I get him put in and tendered as an expert? And usually the answer is no. It has to be the state troopers. I can usually get tendered as an expert. So,
perfect.
Yeah, you can get it amended, but it's unlikely. Most of the time the officer knows, and it does become a swearing contest, where especially if the light was green, my light was green, no, my light was green, like that's, and the officer puts unknown in the box. That's what we call a swearing contest. But which would be no issue in any other state besides the 4 states that have comparative negligence like us, right?
Contributory.
Contributory negligence. Every other state is comparative. We have contributory negligence. So if a jury deems that, no, your light was red, then you are completely at fault and you get nothing. Like, even if you're only slightly at fault, you get nothing. It's a complete bar. So that crash report is more important than we'd like to deal with. Again, we could fight it off at trial, but you don't want to take a case if you only have a minimal, a very minor injury. but you need some care, even if it wasn't your fault and the officer said it was your fault, it's not worth the time, effort, and expenses to take it to trial to try and fight that, right? It's because it's such a small injury and treatment. That's
Right.
the issue. So now, sometimes damages lead liability, but liability, is so strict here. So, but if it was a wrongful death case, I don't care if there's some contributory negligence. I'm going to take it. I'm going to fight it, and we're going to see what we can do for that family, right?
Right. So just some things to remember, just to wrap up that topic, is make sure you do call the police. It's incredibly important. Stay put. Don't drive your vehicle away from the scene. Be careful with what you say. Everything goes into evidence. And, just pay attention to your body and make sure you do get treatment, which is also another form of evidence.
Must get treatment within 2 weeks.
Yes, perfect. Okay, item number 2, remain calm. If you feel that you've been injured, it's best to stay in the car. We touched on that briefly. Try not to show anger. Don't get out of your car and yell at the other driver.
Yeah.
Don't admit fault yourself. Don't discuss the accident with the other driver like Diana accidentally did.
Yeah.
Just remember that anything you say can be used against you. And so just be very, very careful. That police report is so important. And so the way you conduct yourself is also important. So
yeah, I've had later on cases get, there was a low value in pre-litigation, so it moved up to lit to me, and come to find out that my client got out of the car and tried to fight the guy who hit him.
Yeah, not recommended.
Yeah. That is not acceptable behavior for an injured person.
Or any person.
Yeah, or any person. But particularly if we're trying to sue for that. So, yeah, stay calm. Don't show anger. You have to know when somebody hit you, you're the victim. You be the victim. Everything that is heard or seen can be used against you in court. Remember that.
Perfect.
All right.
The third is to call a family member or trusted friend. It's kind of a given. And it's also great to have them as a witness as well. So call for yourself, for your help, for your moral support, and also to have a witness there is very important.
Yeah, I don't want y'all to get out of the car. I want your loved one who shows up to the scene to take the pictures, check on you, and really do most of the work, right? Help you walk to the EMS when it shows up, block from other people from speaking to you, like the defendant. Only the officer should speak to you. And you're going to be very upset. Like, you get super upset. I told you when the officer just ran over to me and all she yelled at me was, "Were you at a stop? Were you stopped?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was stopped for a long time." And at the time I didn't realize. And then 2 seconds later, I was like, "Oh, she was just wanted to know right then whose fault it was."
Right.
Yeah, so it was obviously their fault. And I was like, yes, I was stopped for a long time. So long that I had actually been doing stuff in my car and leaned out and broke the steel on the seatbelt. So let's see. So yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I would always recommend that you call a family member or a friend to come and do all those things for you, like we talked about. Call the police and take pictures, and that's very helpful. And what's the next one? Obtain detailed information.
Driver exchange.
Yeah, there's a driver exchange form. Yeah, tell them what the driver exchange form is.
So in addition to a police report, which you will receive because you call the police to the scene. Eventually. It takes about a week, would you say, give or take?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You'll also receive a driver exchange form. And so that's an important document because it has the other driver's information or lack of insurance, heaven forbid. But it has their insurance information, their name, address, everything like that, which helps speed the process along for filing a claim.
Right. So once an officer shows up, they do that driver exchange form. They get that information and give it to you. But you can go above and beyond that. And if there's any witnesses there, you don't have any trials I get into where they're telling me about this sweet man that helped them get out of the car and walked them over and put, so they could lay down on the side, but they don't remember, they didn't get their name or anything. They remember they were in a truck and he had white hair. And I'm like, and that guy would be a great witness at trial. But so I think it's very important your loved one to get their information and or hand your phone to them and say, please put your information in my phone in case they need you.
Right.
Or could I please get your information in case anything happens later? Thank you so much. Sometimes a really good officer will get the witness's information and their phone number and put it on a crash report, but that doesn't happen very often.
Right, exactly. People assume that it does, and it very rarely does. The next topic is refrain from discussing the details of the collision. And something interesting that he notes in this book is that this includes your own insurance adjuster. You can talk to the adjuster about your car, the damage to your car, but he advises not to talk about the accident facts or your injuries. Why is that, Diana?
So, because you don't want to give up any liability, you would need to talk to us first, right? This is in a case where there might be a question as to liability. So your insurance is going to want to do some type of investigation if the crash report is not clear cut, right? Or the defendant is saying something else is causing caused the crash than what is on the crash report. If it's not clear cut, like, you're stopped at a red light and you're rear-ended. Let's say, they're turning and y'all crashed in the middle of an intersection. That happens. He says that because he doesn't want you to give them any information that it could be used against you. But your insurance information, so if you have full coverage, they can pay to fix your car. You don't have to wait for the defendant. And then your insurance will actually go after the defendant's insurance to get their money back. It's wonderful when you have full coverage like that. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of the defendant's insurance to pay and fix your car and get you a new car and get your rental set up and all that if you don't have it yourself. But your insurance, if you have full coverage, will do all of that for you. It doesn't increase your policy. They will get their money back from the defendant, but you get your stuff taken care of a lot faster. Never talk to anybody about your injuries besides us. You will do, if your insurance wants to talk to you or the defendant's insurance usually wants to talk to you, then we will do what's called a recorded statement. We will meet with you, discuss it with you, and then do the call with you to make sure that they don't ask you anything that is off topic. So this is usually about the crash. Recently, we've been getting a lot of UIM, which is underinsured coverage policies, wanting to do recorded statements to prove residency. Honestly, me and Emily have been doing a few of those. But normally, it's just to get a statement about how the crash happened. The crash is separate from bodily injury. Property damage is different. Oh, we're at the end of our hour, Emily. I just realized it's 10:59. Well, thank you so much for letting us talk to you. Don't forget, call the 8s. Don't hesitate. Call the 8s, 910-888-8888.